Death, the ultimate unknown, it hangs over us, a silent shadow. We fear it, we fight it, yet it defines us. But what if death, as we understand it, isn't the end? What if it's just a transition, a shift in perspective within a far grander, more mysterious reality than we can currently comprehend? This isn't mere fantasy. This is where the bizarre world of quantum physics begins to hint at astounding possibilities. Every day we move through a world that feels stable and reliable. The ground beneath our feet is firm, the objects we touch are solid, and the rules that govern our lives seem unchanging. We trust that when we reach for a cup, it will be there, unmoving, waiting for our grasp. Our senses and experiences reinforce the idea that reality is built on a foundation of certainty and order. You drop an apple, and it falls to the ground. Cause and effect, as simple and dependable as breathing. Gravity pulls, objects respond, and the universe seems to follow a script we can predict. This is the world of classical physics, where actions have clear consequences and the future unfolds from the past in a logical chain. But if we shrink ourselves down, diving deep into the heart of matter, we enter a realm where the familiar rules no longer apply. In the quantum world, the building blocks of reality behave in ways that seem impossible from our everyday perspective. Here, certainty gives way to uncertainty, and the very act of looking can change what we see. Suddenly, what once seemed concrete becomes fluid. The predictable dissolves into a haze of probabilities, where outcomes are not fixed until the moment they are measured. Reality, at its most fundamental level, is not a solid structure, but a shifting landscape of possibilities, waiting to be realized. In this strange domain, particles can exist in two places at once, or even take multiple paths simultaneously. The boundaries between here and there, now and then, blur and overlap. It's as if reality itself is undecided, holding its breath until someone looks. These particles exist as waves of possibility, spread out across space and time. Only when we observe them, when we ask nature a question, do they settle into a definite state. The act of measurement doesn't just reveal reality, it helps create it, collapsing the wave of possibilities into a single outcome. This is the unsettling beauty of the quantum world, a world that challenges our deepest assumptions and defies our common sense understanding of reality. It reminds us that beneath the surface of the everyday, the universe is far stranger, more mysterious, and more wondrous than we ever imagined. Let's step into the world of quantum physics, where reality behaves in ways that defy our everyday intuition. One of the most famous and mind-bending experiments in this realm is the iconic double-slit experiment, a simple setup that reveals the bizarre nature of the quantum world. Imagine firing single particles of light, photons, at a barrier with two narrow slits, and then watching where they land on a screen behind. If light behaved like tiny marbles, you'd expect to see two distinct bands of light, each one lining up perfectly with a slit, just as you'd see if you tossed pebbles through two doorways. But when scientists actually perform this experiment, the results are nothing like what common sense would predict. Instead of two neat bands, something far stranger appears. The screen reveals an interference pattern, a series of light and dark stripes, just like the ripples you'd see if you dropped two stones into a pond and watched the waves overlap. This pattern suggests that each photon somehow travels through both slits at once, interfering with itself, as if it were a wave rather than a particle. The plot thickens when we try to observe which slit the photon actually passes through. By placing a detector at the slits to watch the particles, the interference pattern vanishes. Suddenly, the photons behave like particles again, choosing one path or the other, and the mysterious wave-like behavior disappears. This astonishing result suggests that the very act of observation changes the outcome. In the quantum world, reality isn't set until it's measured. The observer and the observed are intertwined, and our questions shape the answers we receive. Through the quantum looking glass, we find a universe where the boundaries between possibility and reality blur, and where simply watching can alter the fabric of existence itself. Even Albert Einstein, a father of modern physics, struggled with the implications of quantum mechanics. God does not play dice, he famously declared, uncomfortable with the idea of a universe governed by chance. But what if this randomness, this uncertainty, is the key to unlocking a deeper level of existence? What if it points to a reality far richer and stranger than we ever imagined? So, Let's talk about Dr. Robert Lanza and his, well, pretty controversial theory of biocentrism. Lanza argues that life, specifically consciousness, isn't just a passenger in the universe, but actually the driver. Space and time, he proposes, are not these cold, indifferent absolutes, but rather, they're tools of our perception, constructs of the mind. Just as color doesn't exist without an eye to perceive it, reality itself might be a process that's inextricably linked to observation and experience. Now, if space and time are really these fluid, subjective experiences, then our linear understanding of life and death, well, that comes into question. Imagine time as a flowing river. We experience it as a current, moving from past to future. But what if, from a higher perspective, the entire river, all moments, exists simultaneously? Could death then be an illusion? Merely a transition point within this timeless expanse of possibilities? And this, actually, brings us to the mind-bending concept of the many worlds interpretation, a theory that has fascinated scientists, philosophers, and dreamers alike for decades. Imagine for a moment that every decision you make, every roll of a die, every quantum event doesn't just have one outcome, but all possible outcomes actually happen somewhere. This idea challenges our most basic understanding of reality and invites us to consider a universe far stranger than we ever imagined. The many worlds interpretation was first proposed by the brilliant physicist Hugh Everett III in the 1950s. At the time, quantum mechanics was already puzzling the brightest minds with its strange rules and apparent randomness. Everett's radical suggestion was that instead of collapsing into a single outcome, the universe splits, literally branching into separate realities every time a quantum event occurs. Each branch represents a different possible outcome, and all of them are equally real. So, when you flip a coin, in one universe it lands heads, and in another it lands tails. When you choose to turn left instead of right, the universe divides, creating a new world where you made the opposite choice. These splits happen constantly, at every moment, on every scale, from the tiniest particles to the grandest cosmic events. The result is a vast, ever-branching tree of realities, each one as real as the next, all existing in parallel. Our universe, then, is just one branch among an unimaginable number of others, each with its own unique history and future. In this breathtaking multiverse, there are infinite versions of you, each living out a different path, shaped by every choice you could ever make. There's a version of you who became an artist, another who moved to a different city, and countless others you can barely imagine. Every possibility, no matter how unlikely, is played out somewhere. In some worlds, you've taken risks you never dared in this one. In others, you've met people you'll never know here. The many worlds interpretation suggests that your life is not a single story, but an infinite collection of stories, all unfolding at once. And if this theory is true, then perhaps death in one universe is not the end, but simply a transition, a continuation of your journey in countless other worlds, where new adventures and possibilities await. The allure of many worlds is not just in their strangeness, but in the hope and wonder they inspire. Such ideas might seem like the stuff of science fiction, but they're increasingly finding their way into popular culture. Films like Interstellar and The Matrix explore the fluidity of time, the interconnectedness of consciousness, and the possibility of alternate realities. While entertaining, these films also serve as thought experiments, prompting us to question the nature of our own existence. The crux of these theories often lies in the enigmatic nature of consciousness. What is it? Where does it reside? Physicist Michio Kaku, among others, suggests that consciousness might be a non-local phenomenon, not bound by the physical limitations of the brain. Could it be that when we die, our consciousness, this fundamental essence of who we are, continues to exist, perhaps in another dimension or another universe altogether? Interestingly, the idea of life after death isn't new. Ancient cultures across the globe have held beliefs in reincarnation, the transmigration of souls, and the continuity of consciousness after physical death. From the Egyptian afterlife to the Hindu concept of rebirth, these beliefs, once relegated to the realm of religion and spirituality, now find intriguing parallels in the cutting-edge theories of modern physics. It's crucial to remember that these remain theories, not proven facts. The mysteries of consciousness, the true nature of reality, and the question of what happens after death remain unanswered. But the very act of exploring these questions, of pushing the boundaries of our understanding, opens up exhilarating possibilities. What is reality? What does it mean to exist? What happens when we die? These are questions that have haunted humanity since the dawn of self-awareness. While definitive answers remain elusive, the quest itself is deeply profound. Perhaps in the strange and wondrous realm of quantum physics, in the infinite possibilities suggested by the multiverse, death isn't the end, but a doorway, a transition to a new chapter in our existence. Maybe, just maybe, in this grand, interconnected tapestry of reality, we never truly die at all.